Francois from Notway here with a non-pilot almost died story. Have you ever discovered yourself in a situation where you felt like you were going to die? Let's say you were about to drown. What would you do? How would you handle the situation? Most of my almost die stories did not happen in the air. It happened on the ground or in the ocean. In March of 1988, I had some free time and decided to go to Sydney, Australia to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I rode the jump seat on a Flying Tigers Boeing 747 from New York City to Sydney, Australia. Even though March was the end of Sydney's summer, the weather will still be in the lower 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect, or maybe not. One day, while I was hanging out on Bondi Beach, I decided to go for a swim. I had been swimming since I was about 6 years old. I swam on the CYO team for about 8 years. I'm a great swimmer compared to most others, but only a good swimmer compared to great swimmers. Although I won my first gold medal in backstroke at the age of 8, there were no records with my name on it. Regardless, I believe I can surely swim a few miles in Bondi Beach Ocean. These were waters I would enter for the first time, waters that I had no knowledge or any experience of. I was wearing a black bathing suit. Some Australians were wearing nothing. They were naked. I didn't have cold feet. I jumped off the white hot sand and headed into the crystal cold water. I started the Australian crawl. It's known as the freestyle. I set a course parallel to the beach and I put my head down and started swimming hard. Bondi Beach is really a big cove located between Marks Park Point and Roy O'Keefe Reserve Point, which opens up to the Tasman Sea, which is part of the Pacific Ocean. Bondi Beach is also home to powerful riptides, and I was slowly, without knowing it, being sucked out to sea. I was in deep, deep water. And when I looked up, I realized I was a long way out to sea. With Bondi Beach as my only reference point, it was too difficult to determine how far out I was. 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles or more. On my left in the far distance, I can see I was out further than the furthest surfers. And those surfers had their boards as floating devices. I had no floating device, and I was tired from my long swim. Oh shit! What am I gonna do? I tried not to panic. What were my choices? I was only 27 and I didn't even have a wife or kid. I wanted to live. I had no choice but to swim. Putting mind over matter and using all the willpower I could muster, I concentrated on my mental attitude to counteract the physical exhaustion. My body wanted to quit, but my mind wouldn't give up. In order to avoid straining my much needed muscles and to stretch out my endurance of all the remaining energy in my body, I mixed up the swimming styles. I employed 2 forms of the backstroke, the side stroke, the breaststroke, some Australian crawl, and a lot of floating on my back and a lot of threading water. Keep your mind focused on land. Don't think about the Jaws movie. Don't think about stopping or drowning. Is there a God? God help me. Jesus, Mary, or Joseph, or anyone, or any being, help me. My soul wasn't ready to be judged. Still, this is still better than hell. My parents knew I was in Australia, but no one knew I was in the Pacific Ocean and in deep trouble. Focus. I will not die. I will succeed. My body aches. Oh, I was tired from breathing. But barely breathing with exhaustion is still better than not breathing at all. What's the alternative? How do these marathoners, triathletes, and decathletes do this? Go on, keep going. Finally, after threading water for the last time, I felt my foot touch sand underneath the water. Land! Yes, I made it. I walked ashore. Do you know there are man-eating great white sharks in Bondi Beach? In fact, today, underwater shark nets are installed for the summer months at Bondi Beach. Lessons learned. If you're going to Bondi Beach or some other foreign waters for the first time, do some research. Gather some information before you go for a swim. Maybe those waters have notorious riptides or sharks, and you will plan your swim accordingly. Well, the next day I celebrated St. Patrick's Day in Sydney, and then I flew to New York City to land just in time to celebrate St. Patrick's Day again. That year, I celebrated St. Patrick's Day in 2 separate cities, 2 separate countries, and 2 separate continents. And I almost died. I am so grateful that I did not die, and I lived to pass on valuable lessons learned for your benefit. Enjoy the day, if not the night. I appreciate those likes, and thank you for those who have subscribed.